Human beings are far more intricate than they often believe. We are not merely the sum of our feelings or the mask we wear for others. Beneath the surface lies a concealed force, a part of the psyche we avoid, ignore, and suppress. I call this the shadow. The shadow is a storehouse for everything we refuse to acknowledge within ourselves. Fear, rage, envy, pride, shame, forbidden desires, forgotten talents. These are the aspects of our nature that clash with the image we want to maintain. What we deny does not disappear. It gains strength in silence and exerts influence from the depths. It shapes the narrative of our inner world, often more than we realize, and it casts long shadows over our relationships, ambitions, and sense of meaning. As Jung wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." This is not mere poetry, it is psychological law. The ignored shadow does not stay dormant, it manifests in patterns we cannot explain. Repetitive failures, irrational anger, broken relationships, unfulfilled lives. It shapes our reality, all the while hidden in plain sight. The more we deny it, the more it contorts our choices, leading us further from our authentic path. Without conscious engagement, we become marionettes pulled by invisible strings. From early childhood, we are trained to reject parts of ourselves. We are told not to cry, not to show fear, to be strong, to be good. These commands, though often well-intentioned, fracture our inner world. The shadow begins to form. We exile the vulnerable, the passionate, the rebellious, and even the gifted aspects of our being. We bury them so deeply that we forget they ever existed. But they do not forget us. They wait for acknowledgement, for light, for integration. Yet the shadow is not only darkness. In its depths lie forgotten strengths, creativity dismissed, dreams abandoned, voices silenced. To reject the shadow is to reject part of your potential. Within it is energy, raw, powerful, and transformative. That which we suppress does not die. It waits, it simmers, and with the right conditions, it rises to the surface, demanding to be known. These unclaimed parts of ourselves are the seeds of genius, passion, and healing, if only we are willing to nurture them. Facing the shadow is the beginning of inner awakening. It requires honesty, courage, and deep self-inquiry. To name what we fear, to acknowledge what we judge, is not weakness. It is the first step toward becoming whole. For the shadow is not our enemy, it is our unrecognized teacher. It is the mirror we avoid, yet the only one that shows us who we truly are when we dare to look. Through the lens of the shadow, we meet ourselves stripped of illusion, and in that truth, there is liberation. True transformation does not occur by pretending to be light. It begins by turning inward, by recognizing the conflict within, and only by making peace with the disowned parts of ourselves can we truly evolve. This journey requires presence, patience, and profound compassion for the parts of us that were once shamed into silence. Integration is not a one-time act. It is a lifelong dance of remembrance and renewal. Each of us has a shadow, and that is not a flaw, but a fact of being human. Our wholeness includes both light and dark. Real strength lies in embracing the contradiction. When we reclaim the shadow, we reclaim power, choice, and meaning. To know your shadow is to know your true capacity, not just for darkness, but for transformation. We do not become less by accepting our flaws, we become more. If you sense unrest within you, do not run. If there are patterns you cannot break, desires you cannot name, emotions you cannot tame, look deeper. The shadow is not there to harm you, it is there to guide you, to reveal you to yourself. In that revelation, you may encounter clarity, healing, and a profound sense of freedom. The discomfort is not a threat, it is a signal. It is your psyche asking to be made whole. And in that meeting, silent, brave, and honest, you may find what you have always been searching for: yourself. To meet the shadow is not the end of the path, but its true beginning. From that point onward, every step becomes a choice made with awareness rather than habit. It is here that integration begins, not perfection, but presence. And from presence, a new form of life unfolds, authentic, grounded, whole. We begin to live no longer as fragments of ourselves, but as unified beings, capable of love, creativity, and conscious change. Do not fear your depth. Within it lies your becoming. Within the shadow, there is not just darkness, but the light we were once too afraid to claim. But what happens after the shadow is met? What unfolds when we cease to deny the deeper layers of our psyche and begin to listen to the parts long exiled? Integration is not the end of suffering. It is the conscious transformation of suffering into meaning. It is not the absence of chaos, but the emergence of order from within it. As we begin to acknowledge the shadow, something profound awakens: discernment. We no longer react blindly to the world around us. Instead, we respond with a grounded sense of self. The pain that once dictated our decisions becomes a tool for insight. Emotional triggers become invitations to heal. Conflict becomes a mirror. Self-awareness becomes a compass. This inner clarity changes everything. Our relationships deepen because we stop expecting others to carry the weight of our own unlived truths. Our work gains purpose, no longer driven by ambition alone, but by a calling. Even solitude transforms, from isolation into sacred space, where we can dialogue with the self. Creativity, too, becomes less performative and more expressive, a reflection of inner alignment rather than external approval. Our lives begin to echo authenticity. The journey beyond the shadow leads us into what Jung called the process of individuation. It is the slow, sacred unfolding of our unique essence. It is not about becoming someone else. It is about becoming who we truly are, free from the masks, roles, and expectations imposed by culture or trauma. We begin to remember what it means to be whole and to live in resonance with that inner truth. Individuation demands courage. It asks us to let go of the false security of conformity, to listen to dreams, to follow intuition, to accept uncertainty. We discover that within our greatest doubts lie our deepest truths, and through this exploration, we encounter something transcendent, not beyond us, but rooted deeply within. This is where the self begins to speak, not in the voice of the ego, but through the quiet certainty of knowing. This knowing does not shout, it whispers, but once heard, it cannot be forgotten. For those who walk this path, there comes a moment when the old self no longer fits. The identity shaped by approval, fear, and repetition falls away. In its place, we find wholeness, a life not defined by opposition, but by integration. We begin to move not out of survival, but from a place of creative power. Each choice becomes an act of alignment. Even in the face of uncertainty, we carry within us an anchor, a sense of center that cannot be shaken. And so, this is the invitation, to step beyond persona, to move inward, downward, deeper, into the terrain of the forgotten, the feared, the divine. There, in that inner expanse, the self waits, not to be invented, but to be remembered, not to be perfected, but to be honored. And in this remembering, something ancient stirs, an echo of the truth we have always known. This is not a message of perfection, but of authenticity. You were never meant to be flawless. You were meant to be whole. You were meant to be real. You were meant to be free. And perhaps most importantly, you were meant to live a life that is truly yours. Not borrowed, not imposed, not inherited from the voices of the past, but forged in the fire of your own insight, awareness, and courage. A life rooted not in fear of who you might be, but in reverence for who you already are. So let your pain speak. Let your silence breathe. Let your fears step into the light. Do not hide from the darkness, for it is only in the deepest night that the stars reveal themselves. The truth of who you are is not found in perfection, but in presence, in the willingness to walk into yourself without a script, without armor, and without shame. You are not here to escape yourself. You are here to encounter yourself. And in doing so, to become more whole, more human, more free. And if there's a single truth that resounds through this entire journey, it is this: the light you seek is not separate from the darkness you fear. They are part of the same whole. And the deeper you go into one, the more fully you can embrace the other. So choose to listen, choose to feel, choose to be radically honest with yourself. Not because it's easy, but because it's the only way to truly live. The question now is not whether you have a shadow. The question is, will you meet it? And when you do, will you listen? For in that listening lies the key to everything you seek.